Hi folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and I have a friend who's asked me how to make a few simple things. So first of all, she has trouble with her simple loops. I'm not a big fan of simple loops either. I prefer a wrapped loop. They're much more secure. However, I do know how to make a simple loop, and I'm going to show you how to do that as one of the things we're going to do. The other thing is she wants to know how to make a hook that will hold a bracelet with a ring on the other side. So I'm going to show you how to make the hook. I'm going to show you how to make a simple loop, and then we're going to make a bracelet using both of those items. So let's get turned down and I'll show you how to do this. Okay, I've got a piece of 18 gauge wire out, and we're going to use this to make our simple loops. The very first way to do it, I'm using bell making pliers, but you can use your round nose. That's a simple matter. You just have to grab it here at the end and wrap. Now once you've met the other side, as you can see here we have, just take your regular pliers, take hold of the wire just above where it meets the other one, and twist it over. Now you may need to tighten it up a little bit, and that's fine. There you go. One simple loop. The other way to make one, this one has a, make sure you're got the right way of your cutters going, is to simply take, like you were going to start a wrapped loop, twist this over, bring your pliers up into the slot like you would with a wrapped loop, and then bring it around. But rather than going and wrapping, then when you have it down here in this spot, as you can see, it's pretty well good there, just take your cutters, and where it meets right there, cut that off. Then tuck it in with your regular pliers. Another simple loop. I personally, I have used both ways of doing this. This one doesn't waste any wire, the original one. This one, of course, you do have to clip off some, but either way works. Now I'm going to cut this one off, and I'm going to show you how to make the hook. And the hook isn't really hard. You just got to sort of just debate how big you want your hook to be. Bend your, I like it doubled because I like that security of having that extra bit of wire. You don't have to double it. You could make it without being doubled, but I do double it. So what I first do is bend my wire down, take my flat nose and squish this so it's pretty flat all the way along it. Then when you have that done, hold this in place. This is hold this in place where the wire comes together. Take your bell making pliers. I like a bigger loop, so we're going to use a bigger one. And just twist it over on itself till it meets. Now if you wanted this deeper, you could pull it deeper. But then the next step is pretty important, and that is putting the tip on the hook. The tip is important because otherwise it will not go in the loop easily. So just hold it and then bring a tip up, like so. And now when you come around with your bracelet, just bend this around. This isn't going to be pretty, but that's all right. We don't really care. We're just going to show you how this works. You want them to be pretty flat to each other. Of course, this isn't bent right the way I would, but You want them to be flat like this to each other so that when they come together, you can hook onto that tip. And that's how you make the hook and a simple loop. And I hope that helps for you. Okay, in order to make this bracelet, I have gotten an 11-inch piece of 18 gauge wire. This is German style silver. I've gotten this artistic wire in the multicolor. This is the brown, green, gold, and I have 40 inches of it. This is going to be for wrapping the beads. And these are the beads I'm going to use, these really pretty goldish topaz colored ones. So the first thing we're going to do is make the hook that will hold the bracelet together when you've got it on. So in order to do that, we have to bend this wire in half and pull it as tight as you can and tighten it up. There we go. Now take your flat nose pliers and hold it here together while you take your bell making pliers. I'm using the 6-step ones on this larger set here. And leave a little tip at the top and just roll those around. Now I've had you leave that tip there because we're going to take this and we need to bend it up some. So take hold of it at the very tip of your pliers and bend up to make a little curve so that it ends up looking like this. Okay, focus baby, there we go. So it has this little tip up here. This is what's going to help it go through the loop on the other end when you're putting it on. So now that we've done that, I don't need these pliers anymore, so we'll set these aside. And what we do need next is our colored wire. So we have this colored wire. I've sort of bent it in half here, as you can see. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to put it around where the two wires come together here with the hook for the hook, and we're going to wire wrap it. So we want to get it nice and tight across there, and then we're going to wrap the wires around this to hold them in place. And I'm just going to crisscross them here as I come across. One this way and one this way. Back up here and down around here. Push them together some. And one around here. Now if you've got as much of you as you want, I'm going to do one more loop around. And this one this way. Push them down together. And then we're going to start adding our beads. Now if you think this is too long here, that's fine. You can take your clippers and clip this little tiny piece right here at the end off. Make sure you're not clipping anything else though when you're at it. So pull it out and clip it off. Pin that back down in place and pull your wires back down there to meet it. Okay, now next is to start putting on the beads. Okay, I'm going to use these pretty beads. We'll put one on the end here. We're going to put these on one at a time because we don't want to try and wire wrap while they're in the way. So I'm going to start with the bottom wire, go around the bead, go up to the wire, over the top, and down and around one full turn. So it comes out at the top. Then take the top one, bring it around to the bottom base wire, and it goes from the front all the way around as well. So then we have our first bead finished. So then we'll continue on that route all the way down until we fill up the whole thing. Now you'll notice I push these down with my thumb to make sure that they're good and tight. Go on. If they should get too loose, you can, as long as you notice it prior to putting on your next bead, you can pull it apart and tighten it up. Or if it's too tight, you can also, which you'll go, how can it be too tight? Well, it might slip over the top of the bead so it's open in the middle instead of on the side. That I would consider too tight. So we have the first 3 done. And we'll keep. Now we need to go on. Again, we go from the bottom up and around the base wire from the front and then all the way around. Let's go from the top, pull her down to the base wire, start at the front, come around and end at the front. New bead, push her down from the bottom, lift it up, around the top, go around one full turn. From the top one, go around the bead, over from the top, go one full turn. And push it down with your thumb. And I'll do the rest of them off camera. Okay, we've got the beads I had laid out all wrapped up in here, but when I measure, it's not quite 8, it's only 7.5. Now I'm going to want it to be 8, which sounds strange because that will you'd think that would make it very large, but it will not, because we're going to have to wrap it around, which is going to take some of its size away from it. And besides that, we have to have enough to push it together so that it will loop on. So we're going to add one more bead. And to do that, of course, we do the push it on, bring it around, and then bring the other up and around again. So here we go. We've got our next bead on. It's all done. And now we have to decide, are we making a simple loop or a wrapped loop? I think I have enough to make a wrapped loop, so I'm probably going to make a wrapped loop over here rather than a simple loop. I prefer the security. I'm not going to make the extra wraps to hold these in place good until I have that wrap done, so that I can wrap it around and it will resemble more this size. So we're going to get our pliers out and we're going to make a wrapped loop. So we want to pull the pliers here, hold them in place, push our wire down. Now I'm going to use my bell making pliers to make this because I prefer this lovely consistency. So you just wrap it around, twist it over, wrap it the rest of the way, and once you've got it here, you need to push this around and make your wraps. Now this has not got a lot of room for the wraps, and since this is 18 gauge, it's a little harder to wrap them. So we're going to take our pliers, get hold of our end, and pull it around. When I get towards the end of this small piece of wire like this, I tend to just tuck it rather than trying to wrap it more. So there we have that. And now we have our loop. And as you can see, the loop is going the same direction as our hook. So loop, hook. So now the next step is going to simply be to wrap these other wires here at the end. Sorry for bumping. So now we're just going to do this like we did the others. On the other side, and just wrap around, wrap around, around, around. That one looks like it's too loose. Let's pull her up tighter. Okay, and now we just need to clip these wires. So get the wire cutters out. Clip these in. Be careful not to clip anything extra. Now we'll take our pliers, our regular pliers, and we'll tuck those little extra wires inside here. And this has a bump. I'm going to squish that down some. Okay, so now the next step is simply to bend it. Since I don't have a bracelet mandrel, we're just going to use my wrist. So we need to find approximately where the middle of this is, which we can easily do by counting the beads. It'll be a little off because of the loop. I have 18 beads, so 9 and 9 is the middle. So here, but we're going to move to this one to do it, to consider the middle, because like I say, we have this extra bit here. So put this on your wrist. Just use your wrist to bend around. Carefully doing it, just a little increments at a time. Okay. Now we'll just continue to bend it here. As you can see, I have it a little out of whack here because it was not quite right. But remember, when you get to this side, these need to be flat to each other. So you'll need to bend this down and bend this down. Because you need that hook to drop into there. So that didn't want to do that quite right. So let's push this down here a little more and see how that works now. Much better. But it still looks a little wonky. So we'll just have to sit there and we can just finger work it till we get it looking more than like we want it to look. And then make sure the ring will slip in. And if you need to, you can take this ring, bend it down some so that it's more at an angle, so it's easier for this to slip in. And there we go, our finished bracelet. Show you how this goes on. You just pull this around your wrist, lean your arm down, get that ring right there on the hook, and push. Oh baby, go on the rest of the way. Have this at a slight angle, but there we go. It's on. That's what it looks like. Hope you liked this, and let's turn up and talk for a bit. Okay, there we are at the finished bracelet. You can see we do have a pretty good gap, of course, where the hook goes. And if you wanted to do this hook differently, you could make another loop on this other side and then make a hook that was not attached as part of the wire, but make a hook and then just hook it into the other loop, and then it would be floating more instead of really stationary like this. However, I find that it's easier to get them on with the stationary one. So anyway, there's the bracelet. Hope you enjoyed watching this, and really simple, really easy, and I think just about anybody can make one. Go for it. This is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and I hope you enjoyed this.